What's up, guys? Back today with another video, and today we're going to talk about how to install a nitrous system on your Hemi and what all is involved to get it set up. I've had a lot of people ask me questions about this topic, so I figure we'll do a once over on how I have the nitrous system set up on Frostbite, and hopefully that will help you guys out tremendously. Other than that, guys, there's two basic rules with nitrous. Rule number one, don't call it NOS.
I need NOS. I need NOS.
NOS is a brand. Okay? It is not the actual product, okay? Nitrous is nitrous. Alright? So there's a lot of people that kind of frown and turn their heads when you call nitrous NOS. Alright? When the movie came out, it was, that's what they called it. But anywho, short and sweet, just call it nitrous. Please call it nitrous. Other than that, rule 2, respect it, because you can get carried away with it very fast. What is nitrous? It's basically a liquid supercharger, guys. And it was also used in World War II on aircraft engines to get them higher altitude and better high altitude performance on their aircraft. Check it out.
Nitrous oxide is created by a manufacturing process where two nitrogen atoms are joined to an oxygen atom in a chemical bonding process to form the nitrous oxide molecule. Nitrous oxide is a non-flammable gas that is converted to a pressurized liquid state for storage in a nitrous bottle. When released, the compressed liquid returns to a gaseous state. As nitrous is introduced into the engine, extra fuel must be added as well. During the extreme heat of combustion inside the engine, the chemical bond of the additional nitrogen atoms is broken. This creates an instantaneous increase in the amount of oxygen inside the chamber. The additional oxygen aids the burning of the added fuel, which pushes the piston down much harder, thus creating more power. A nitrous oxide systems kit is an excellent method for introducing additional air and fuel into an engine. NOS kits can also eliminate the complexity of a forced induction system, or the added expense of multiple engine component upgrades.
Let's see how it's set up. So the first thing we're going to start off with is the main components with nitrous. Okay, so the first things you want to do when you get a nitrous system is you want to figure out where you want to mount your solenoids, these guys right here, and where you want to mount your bottle. That's the two most important things involved with nitrous when you get a kit. And honestly, the number one thing that probably takes the longest is where to mount your bottle. Depending on if it's a truck, a car, or whatever, you'll be surprised how much time you'll spend on mounting that nitrous bottle to get it in the perfect spot for you. But the solenoids in the bottle is basically the first thing I start with before I do anything with installing a nitrous system. So on my truck with my Hemi, the 5.7, I'm running the plate kit. Okay, so a plate kit consists of a plate mounted between the throttle body and the intake manifold. Okay, kind of like a throttle body spacer. Basically it's the same thing, except for it's drilled and has passages drilled throughout the plate to allow the nitrous and the fuel to mix and atomize and get sprayed through the intake. So that's a plate kit. Alright, and basically I mounted my solenoids on top of the throttle body with the bolts right here. So I have a bracket coming off, and this is holding my nitrous solenoid right here. So that's the nitrous solenoid. And then on the other side, this is the fuel solenoid, mounted on the same kind of bracket, just one bolt right there holding it. These brackets are very sturdy. They hold those big solenoids pretty well. Okay, so that's your solenoids. And then you got to tap into your fuel system. So on the Hemis, it's pretty standard. They give you a adapter right here that what happens and how to use it is you'll actually unplug your factory fuel line from the fuel rail. Then you will install this supplied fuel adapter onto the fuel rail and then plug your actual fuel line onto that adapter, which then has a threaded nipple that comes off that adapter to allow you to screw and attach the nitrous fuel supply line that runs over to your fuel solenoid. Okay, so you have a little line, as you can see right here, that runs from the fuel rail up to the fuel solenoid. And then on the bottom of mine, and sometimes they'll come out like the side or whatever, you'll have another hose, and this is the outlet. So this is the inlet for the fuel, comes in, and then when the solenoid opens, it goes down and lets the fuel travel out the other side. So the other hose for the outlet I have routed runs around here and then into the fuel side of the nitrous plate. I'm going to try to come down here, sorry for all the movement. So there you see it's marked fuel. So that's what runs to the fuel side. And basically the same thing for the nitrous side, only a little different. So here's the nitrous solenoid. Your inlet obviously is this big main hose which runs all the way back to your bottle. So when you open the bottle, nitrous comes down this line into this fuel solenoid, or excuse me, the nitrous solenoid. And then when it opens, it comes out the bottom to another hose, which is going to the nitrous plate right here, and it's marked, don't know if you can see that, N2O right here. All right, so now we're going to talk about some extra features that you can add on to this system. So I have a Purge system, and if I can get over here, it's kind of hard to see it. There's another solenoid to operate your Purge system. So if you can see that other big solenoid right here, that is the Purge solenoid, which you see that little black line right here is like some PVC tubing. So when I hit the Purge button, I'll get a nitrous purge cloud to purge out all the air out of the line, so that when I actually activate my nitrous system, I get pure nitrous right into the intake. You don't have to have that, it's optional. It does help your time a little bit because it takes away that delay, and not only that, it looks pretty cool. So the other thing you can do on the fuel side is you can run a fuel pressure gauge, which can be adapted right onto this adapter that goes to the fuel rail. So you can add that. So as far as wiring, the wiring is pretty straightforward on my truck. So both solenoids, the nitrous and the fuel, and also if you're running the Purge solenoid, okay, what you do is each solenoid has 2 wires. It doesn't matter which ones you pick. It can be which, it doesn't matter. There's no, as you see, they're both the same colors usually on every solenoid. It doesn't matter. You pick one, and whatever that wire you pick can either be a ground or a positive, and then the other one's going to be the opposite, because it's just a yes/no switch. It doesn't care which side is what. So basically you're going to take, the way I did it is I took a wire from each solenoid, crimped them together, and then I ran them down right here to the front timing cover, and mounted all three and grounded them right here to that bolt and nut. So that's how I have the solenoids grounded. And then you take the other wire on each solenoid, and that is going to be your positive 12 volt connection supply to those solenoids. So you'll run that wire up to your switch, 12 volts, and that will be what tells these solenoids to come on, depending on however you activate your system. But there's really not a whole lot to it. Check out this simple wiring diagram, and this is basically how I have mine wired up. Now for the Purge setup on my truck. So as I stated before, the Purge solenoid, I run a PVC line behind the intake, behind my brake booster, up to here. There's a little adapter that I use to adapt it to the actual factory window washer line, which is routed on your hood. It's still all the factory window washer stuff. And all I did was super glue and zip tie these rubber elbows and adapters up there. And then I turned my window washer nozzles around backwards so that they are pointing forward. And then I don't know if you can see, probably not, but I drilled the front hole out on the nozzles much larger so that I could get a decent stream of nitrous through both nozzles. And that is how I purge my truck. Now the other thing I want to mention is the jets and how to change your jetting. So on a my plate setup, or any plate, you have your nitrous and fuel line, and if you unscrew these lines going to the plate, when you unscrew them, you're going to have a jet behind each line, which is these guys. That is all they are. Each one of those is a different size. Let me grab one out of here. So as you see, it's just a little brass jet. There's numbers stamped on each one, and that determines the size of the hole that's drilled through it. Alright, that's what changes your horsepower level and your fuel mix. So that's how you change horsepower levels. As you see, I have a little box set up for mine, and each setup for jets is a different horsepower level. This is a 100 shot, so it takes a 52 nitrous jet and a 27 fuel jet. A 125 shot is going to be a 57 nitrous and a 31 fuel, so forth. 150 shot, 175 shot, 200 shot, and then these over here I just have little extra jets. But that's basically all there is to changing your horsepower. You can do it in a matter of 5 minutes or less. That's where I said rule number 2, respect it. Don't get carried away. You'll be all right. Alright, so now we're on the inside of the truck. I'm going to talk about the way I activate my system, which is a wide open throttle switch. I don't use anything fancy. I pretty much use the way they've been, they came out since day one. Very simple wide open throttle switch, and that's it. And an arming switch to turn the system on. So I'm going to go over the wide open throttle switch. I'm going to go over my arming switch, my purge button, and then where I mounted my nitrous bottle. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the throttle, wide open throttle switch. I'm going to try to get down here. It's dark, but there it is right there. I'm going to try to operate this and hold the light and the camera at the same time, but bear with me. Alright, so here's the switch. It's mounted to my throttle pedal. Alright, and if you listen, it might be a little hard. There's a guy mowing the grass down the street here, but when I floor the gas pedal all the way down, you'll hear a click. Okay, so that is what tells my nitrous solenoids and the fuel solenoid to open up when the system is armed and ready to go. When I floor the gas pedal, the nitrous sprays. All right, there's 2 wires that you hook up for that, and that's going to be your nitrous solenoids. The power side goes to the one side of the switch, and then you're going to have your 12-volt supply going to the other side. That's it. All there is to that, besides mounting the bracket to your throttle pedal or wherever it is you want to mount it to activate the system, whether it's your gas pedal, a throttle, linkage, you know, whatever. Next thing we're going to talk about is the switches and how I have mine hooked up. All right, so I have mine hooked up with this little removable panel on the side of my console. As you can see, there's a slot right here which that can pop out. I drilled a few holes in it. This one here, never mind, it doesn't do anything. But this is my purge solenoid button to turn the purge system on. You can probably hear it clicking out there. And then this is the arming switch for the nitrous system. When I flip that up, when the key's on, the system is armed and it's ready to go as soon as I slam the gas pedal down to wide open. That is all there is to it with my truck. Now, the next thing is where I picked up my voltage supply to run my nitrous system. I actually took the cover off of the console here and I tapped into the cigarette lighter wires that's mounted down below there. That is where I picked up my 12-volt power. It's already on a factory fuse. It works great. I haven't had any problems with it not working. It was an easy hookup, so that's what I tapped into to get power. So when I have my key on or the truck's running, I have 12 volts to that cigarette lighter and those wires, to my switch, to my wide open throttle switch, and it's a go. That is how I have it hooked up on my truck. Very simple. Next thing we're going to talk about that you need to get if you want to run nitrous, you don't have to, but I recommend it, is a wideband gauge. Alright, if you're going to run anything around 100 shot or more, I definitely recommend a wideband gauge. Okay? So, on a nitrous car, you're going to run a little rich with nitrous. Alright? But you definitely don't want to run lean. So with a nitrous vehicle, you pretty much, when you're running on the bottle, you want your air-fuel ratio to be roughly around 11.5, 11.6, somewhere in that range. Anything lower number than that means you're richer, and you know, not necessarily going to damage your engine, but it's going to run rich. You know, it might create some black smoke coming out the exhaust, and you're not going to make as much power. It's going to kind of, you know, kind of flood out, bog out, whatever. It won't make as much power. Off the nitrous, you know, I'm tuned by Jay. He typically wants me to be around, you know, 12.5, 12.6 on the motor, and then, you know, take a number down from that, 11.5, 11.6 on the nitrous. So, you know, that's why you want to get a wideband if you're going to run nitrous, especially if you're going to do, you know, 100 shot or more. That way you can monitor that and make sure you're not going lean or you're too rich or whatnot. But it's really, the wideband is a, you know, a necessity for tuning the nitrous system, really. It makes tuning it much easier. Otherwise, you know, you can tune a nitrous system without a wideband, but you got to basically do it, you know, the old school way, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's actually a very thorough way to do it. But you know, you would set your nitrous system up, go down the street, the track or whatever, and you're going to make a pass, and then as soon as you make that pass, you're going to kill the engine. You're going to shut it down, and you're going to pull the spark plugs out one at a time and read those spark plugs to see if they're lean, too rich, you got too much timing in it, you know, what, so forth. You know, that's the proper way to tune a nitrous system, but it's really for if you got a lot of nitrous or you're tuning a race car. Small shots, 100 shot, 125, 150, whatever. Get a wideband, get a tune. You'll be okay. Just monitor the wideband. You'll be all right. I've never had an issue. Just pay attention to your gauges, and make sure you're, you got a good tuner doing your stuff for you. You'll be good. I mounted my 15-pound nitrous bottle standing up in between a custom stereo box that I built. Fits in there nice and tight. I have a clamp that goes around it that holds it in, and that's it. Not much to a nitrous bottle. They also have a fuel pressure, or pressure gauge on the bottle, and that's definitely a necessity to get. See if I can get in there. So, as you can see, get the light over here. Right now, it's my truck's been sitting outside, so it's it's pretty hot inside here right now. But when you have a full bottle, you want your pressure to be in that green zone, which is normally going to be 900 to about 1050 psi. That is the sweet spot for the best power with nitrous. Okay, if you have lower pressure than say 900, the system is still going to work, but it's going to run rich because you're not supplying as much nitrous to it, but your fuel is going to stay the same no matter what. So the lower the pressure, the richer the system is going to run. Now the opposite happens the other way. If you go higher pressure, like right now I'm in the red zone, if I'm running the same jets that I normally run, I might make a little bit more. Say I have 100 shot jets installed, I might make a little more than 100 horsepower with that much pressure, because it's going to force more nitrous through that jet. It may not be a huge difference, but it's going to be a little bit. But the higher the pressure, the harder the nitrous is going to hit, but obviously it's going to feed more nitrous, so you could run a little bit on the lean side if you're feeding it more nitrous. So the sweet spot's usually 900 to 1050 for most jetted applications, regardless of who you're with. So that's just some common stuff there with nitrous pressure and your bottle. Other than that, you have your big line right here that comes off the bottle, and then that line runs all the way up under the hood to your nitrous solenoid. Pretty straightforward. So yeah, hope that helps you guys out. I hope that explains some of the easier common questions that I get a lot. Like I said before, guys, installing a nitrous system is pretty straightforward. If you can install a stereo in your car, you can hook up a nitrous system. It's pretty straightforward. The directions are pretty clear. There's plenty of information on the internet. There's plenty of YouTube videos out there. Don't be scared of trying to do it yourself. It's pretty simple. Just follow the rules, read the directions, ask questions. You can never go wrong asking a question. So pretty straightforward. The other thing we might try to do in the future, guys, let me know in the comments if you guys are interested in this. We might go live one day, and you guys can pick my brain a little bit, ask me some questions about the nitrous setup, so forth, whatever. We can talk about it, have a live discussion. There's definitely a lot of questions and things with nitrous to try to cram into a short video. But yeah, we can try to do that in the future if you guys are interested. But that's it for today, guys. As always, don't forget to hit that like button, the subscribe button, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Nitrous.